Okay, so good morning. Dali ah. Sino minumute ko yung sarili ko? Okay, so good morning. Mga ka-hangover. At we are now on the last meeting for our discussion on law on corporations and the SRC or the Securities Regulation Code. Again, kaya medyo mahaba ito at 3 weeks tayo tinagal, no? Because corporations together with SRC would account for 28 out of the 100 questions of RFBT. So this is the single highest number of items that you will find based on the TOS of the BOA. No? So we're now on foreign corporations. How do we define foreign corporations under the Corporation Code? This will be corporations who are organized or formed under laws other than the Philippines. Ito nga rin yung tinatawag nating incorporation test na ang tinitingnan lang natin ay saan ba na form ang corporation. No? Such that if the corporation will be formed within Philippine laws or under Philippine laws, it will be considered a Filipino or domestic corporation. Pero kung hindi Philippine laws ang sinunod para mabuo ang corporation, then it will be regarded as a foreign corporation already. You will have to take note again, no? That we do not consider the citizenship or nationality of the stockholders of the corporation, only the place where it was incorporated. Kaya nga, even if a foreign corporation, let's say for example, Maybank, no? Maybank is 99.9% owned by a Malaysian bank, it will still be considered a domestic corporation for purposes of classification dahil nga formed within Philippine laws yung Maybank Philippines. No? So, ganun lang ang tinitingnan natin under the incorporation test. Saan ba binuo and under what law was it created? Okay? Now, on the other hand, we have what you call the control test na ginagamit natin kung sakasakaling there will be a minimum Filipino ownership requirement applicable to a particular corporation. So, in a control test, tinitingnan natin dito yung citizenship or nationality naman ng stockholders. No? Hindi katulad sa incorporation test na ang tinitingnan lang natin was where was it incorporated. In the control test, ang tinitingnan na natin is the citizenship of the nationals or the stockholders for that matter. No? So for example, under the Constitution, pinagbabawal ang mga foreign corporation or foreign-owned corporation to hold or to own land. No? So for that particular purpose, a corporation has to be at least 60% Filipino-owned in order to validly own a land, no? Sa Pilipinas. But take note, land lang ang prohibition na ito. No? Pwede naman silang mag-own ng building, pwede rin silang mag-own ng condo units provided that the total ownership of the condominium units is not less than 40 is not more than 40% foreign owned, no? Kasi nga 60% dapat Filipino owned in order to be considered a Filipino corporation under the control test. Okay? Ito rin yung tinatawag nating liberal test kasi hindi na natin kailangan tignan pa. Just in case the corporation is owned by another corporation, we need not look into the ownership of the owning corporation. No? So, under the liberal test, if for example, a corporation is in turn owned by B corporation, ang tinitingnan lang natin ito. No? Kaya kung sakasakali na B corporation is 60% Filipino owned and it owns 60% of A corporation, then Filipino corporation na ang consideration natin kay A corporation under the control test. Kasi nga, we need not go further into the individual stockholders to determine the citizenship of the corporation under the control test. Ngayon, meron namang tinatawag na grandfather rule. As clarified by the Supreme Court, in the case of nickel mining, yung grandfather rule is a more stringent test, kaya nga liberal ang tawag natin kay control test. No? Kasi dito kay grandfather rule, titignan na natin yung mismong citizenship ng stockholders ng owning corporation. So in our example earlier, if A Corp is owned by B Corporation, ang titignan natin yung stockholders nitong B Corporation, kung Filipino ba sila, in order to determine the extent of Filipino ownership. So if B Corporation, for example, owns 70% of A Corporation and the stockholders of B Corporation is 60% Filipino-owned, ayan, we will multiply them to determine the extent of Filipino ownership of A Corporation. So 70% times 60%, yan ang magiging ownership or Filipino ownership ni A Corporation. Ganun yung pag-determine. No? Kaya grandfather kasi as if A Corporation yung anak, B Corporation yung tatay, and the stockholders owning B Corporation are the grandfathers. No? Kaya tinitrace natin down to the individual stockholders kung ano ba ang kanilang citizenship or nationality in order to determine the extent of Filipino ownership for A corporation. Okay? Now, it applies only to nationalized activities and those that will require certain Filipino ownership requirements. Now, whether minimum 60, 70, 80 or whole Filipino ownership, doon natin ina-apply yung grandfather rule. Ngayon, Kinuwento ngayon ng Supreme Court kailan natin ina-apply. So sabi nga natin, there are two tests in determining the nationality of the corporation. We have the more liberal approach, which we call the control test, and the grandfather rule, as we just have mentioned. No? And in this particular case, nickel mining ito, kaya ang tinitingnan dito is yung minimum Filipino ownership requirement applicable to exploitation of natural resources. So pwede natin gamitin yung control test. Okay, whenever 60% Filipino owned na si corporation, ang treatment natin sa kanya entirely a Filipino citizen na, no, or Filipino national na yung corporation na iyon. But whenever that particular minimum ownership requirement is less than that required by law, or at least there is doubt as to whether it is actually a Filipino corporation, then tsaka natin ina-apply si grandfather rule, no? Ganyan nga yung naging desisyon ng Supreme Court dito sa kaso na ito. So if for example, 100,000 shares ang meron ng corporation, at least 60% of the capital stock belongs to Filipino citizens, all the capital stock will be determined as Filipino. So ang mangyayari dyan, the corporation is already considered a Filipino citizen under the control test. No? So we need not go further into the owning corporation kung ano ba ang citizenship ng kanyang mga stockholders. But if it is less than 60%, kunwari 50% lang ng capital stock ang Filipino-owned, then only the shares corresponding to that ownership will be treated as owned by Filipinos for the purpose of determining, again, the minimum Filipino ownership requirement. Ngayon, kailan daw ina-apply? Again, sabi natin, mag-a-apply ang grandfather rule only if the equity falls below the threshold required. So in our example earlier, less than 60%, or whenever there is doubt as to the Filipino or foreign equity of the corporation in question. No? Kaya, again, ang gagawin natin, una muna natin i-apply si control test, pero pag na-meet na yung nationality requirement for Filipino ownership, no, in that particular corporation, pero may doubt as to whether the Filipino ownership was actually met by the corporation, saka natin ina-apply yung grandfather rule supplementary. No? Ganyan din ang ginawa dito sa grandfather rule, kasi sa nickel mining na case, kasi si nickel mining dito is owned by another corporation, 60% owned, no? Pero nung tinignan nila, there was doubt as to the Filipino ownership, although initially under the control test, Filipino na sana si nickel mining, which will be allowed now to engage in mining activities. Kaso nung tinignan yung ownership ng mga stockholders, or ownership rather, ng owning corporation, no, tinignan at mas marami ang foreigners. Kaya nung in-apply yung grandfather rule, it was held that nickel mining or Nara Nickel Mining was not a Filipino corporation for purposes of the minimum Filipino ownership requirement. So again, control test, pagkatapos tsaka lang tayo nag-grandfather rule. Only again when the equity requirement falls below the threshold required, or when there is doubt as to whether the Filipino ownership requirement has already been met. Okay? Now, under the rules or under the corporation code for that matter, it is a condition before a license is granted to a foreign corporation to do business in the Philippines that they must designate a resident agent. Bakit ba kailangan ng resident agent dito sa Pilipinas ni foreign corporation? Para representative siya. No? Just in case that there will be cases filed against the corporation, the resident agent will be the representative who will receive the summons and other legal processes in behalf of the foreign corporation. But take note, again, hindi requirement yung resident agent to be considered a foreign corporation. Ang ina-apply nga lang natin dyan is the incorporation test. So as long as it is formed under laws other than the Philippines, it will be a foreign corporation already, whether or not they do have a resident agent in the Philippines. Ang naging amendment lang dito ng revised corporation code is the requirement that the resident agent himself must be of sound financial standing and will then show proof of such as certified by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Yan lang ang naging additional requirement dito. Okay? Now, ano ngayon ang mangyayari kung sakasakali that a foreign corporation would do business in the Philippines without securing a license first? No? Unang-una, hindi yan hindrance for them to do business, makakapag-business pa rin naman sila. Ang nagiging consequence lang talaga niyan ay hindi sila pwedeng magkaso, no, in Philippine courts or whether administrative agencies with quasi-judicial powers or any tribunal for that matter within the Philippine jurisdiction. So, ang requirement ng license for them before they transact business in the Philippines would be for purposes of them having a legal personality to sue under Philippine laws. So what constitutes doing business in the Philippines? It can either be determined using the continuity test whenever the business that they are doing in the Philippines is a continuation of what they actually do abroad as well. No? So kung sila ay nagbebenta doon ng finished goods, then kung yan din ang ginagawa nila dito, it will be deemed doing business in the Philippines already. Or it can be a substance test na ina-apply din ng korte whenever the foreign corporation is doing business in the foreign country, if it is continuing the substance of that business in the Philippines, kahit hindi sobrang related or kahit hindi directly pareho, pero substantially related yung kanilang ginagawa dito sa kanilang negosyo sa ibang bansa, then they will still be considered doing business within the Philippines. Or we can apply the contract test whenever there are specific commercial acts that will be performed within the Philippines, then they can also be considered doing business within the Philippines under that particular contract. Okay? Now, take note, however, that doing business also would include soliciting orders or service contracts, lalo na kung related naman talaga yan sa negosyo mo, opening offices, whether they call it liaison offices or branches, which are technically not separate juridical entities from them, and appointing representatives or distributors within the Philippines, or a person, for that matter, who will stay in the Philippines for 180 days or more. Kahit tao lang yan, no? Agent, magiging considered na yan as doing business in the Philippines as well. Or participating in the management, supervision, or control of any domestic corporation in the Philippines, or any other act that will imply continuity of commercial dealings, yun nga, applying the continuity test, or even the substance test if it is substantially related to what they are doing, or the exercise of functions that are normally incident in and in progressive prosecution of the commercial gain or purpose of that particular business organization. Take note, however, no, that the doing business definition will not, or the following acts for that matter, will not be deemed as doing business within the Philippine jurisdiction for purposes of applying this rule. No? Number one, a mere investment as a shareholder in a domestic corporation. So nangyayari yan, for example, kay San Miguel Brewery, which is 48% owned by a Japanese beer company. The Japanese beer company is not deemed to be doing business in the Philippines kasi wala naman siyang participation in the management, no? Stockholder lang siya. So nagre-receive ng dividends pero hindi nagpa-participate sa management, not doing business in the Philippines ang ating treatment sa kanya. Having a nominee director or officer to represent its interest in such corporation, lalo na kung ang trabaho lang ay consultant, no? Wala naman talagang direct participation in the management or even directing the affairs of the corporation itself, or appointing a representative domiciled in the Philippines which transacts business in its own name and for its own account. So nag-apply yan or in-apply ang last na yan ng Supreme Court in one case sa Rustans. No? So may foreign corporation na nagbebenta kay Rustans ng particular goods, and Rustans is selling it in behalf of the foreign corporation in its own name and for its own account. So in that case, dahil may separate juridical entity naman si Rustans, ang naging treatment ng Supreme Court, si foreign corporation is not doing business in the Philippines. Okay? Now, ano ulit ang nagiging consequence if in case you are actually doing business in the Philippines without a license to do so, filed with the SEC. No? Ang mangyayari again is that you cannot maintain or intervene in any action, suit, or proceeding in any court or administrative agency in the Philippines. Nawawala lang ang personality to sue. No? Pero pwede kang kasuhan, no? And pwede mo i-defend yan. Yun nga lang, hindi ka pwedeng mag-initiate ng kaso in the courts or even with the SEC or any other administrative agency. No? Take note, again, it is the doing of business without the necessary license that will bar the foreign corporations from access to our courts. So kung hindi naman sila nagdo-do business in the Philippines, no, pero meron sila naging offended party sila. For example, nagkaroon ng trademark infringement, pwede silang magkaso sa Pilipinas kahit wala silang lisensya, no? Ang nagbabar sa foreign corporation from suing in Philippine courts will be the act of doing business without a license. So kung meron lisensya, of course, pwedeng magkaso, or kung hindi naman sila doing business kahit walang lisensya, pwede ring magkaso in Philippine courts. Again, it is the lack or the doing of business without the necessary license that will bar the foreign corporation from suing under Philippine laws or in Philippine courts. Okay? Now, take note, however, that there are 5 exceptions recognized by the Supreme Court from the rule that supposedly the foreign corporation cannot sue. No? So, in all 5 instances, pinayagan silang mag-maintain ng kaso dito sa Pilipinas. Number 1, if it is an isolated transaction or iisa lang ang naging transaction dito sa Pilipinas, papayagan na silang magkaso. No? If I'm not mistaken, the case of Western Equipment Supply was with regards to collection of sum of money dahil yung binentahan nila sa Pilipinas ay hindi na nagbayad. Can you imagine? Nagbenta yung foreign corporation dun sa nasa Pilipinas, tas ang naging depensa ng nasa Pilipinas na bumili is that the foreign corporation does not have a license but it did business in the Philippines. So it was considered an isolated transaction where the Supreme Court allowed the supplier foreign corporation to sue under Philippine courts. And apply din yan for purposes of protecting the trademark within the same case. No? It was mentioned here that the Philippines is a signatory in the Paris in the Paris Convention for Protection of Intellectual Property. So even if supposedly walang license to do business in the Philippines yung foreign corporation, pinayagan pa rin siyang magkaso in the Philippines for purposes of protecting its intellectual property. As will be discussed naman when we get to intellectual property law, no, a trademark that is well known even abroad can be allowed to sue in the Philippines even without a license to do business here. No? Kasi pinagbabawalan ding i-register as a trademark yung kanilang well-known mark already, whether or not they are registered in the Philippines. Or when it is a violation of the revised penal code, yan yung kaso ng Lacoste, no? Na nakahanap sila ng mga peking polo shirts, no? Polo shirts talaga yan, na peke yung damit, pero meron din nung iconic nila na na crocodile, no? So in this case, hindi naman daw ang foreign corporation ang party to the case, no? Because it is a violation of the revised penal code. The case will be entitled People of the Philippines, supposedly, no, versus the infringer, or in this case, ang naging kaso dyan was what do you call this? I forgot the term. Anyway, so it is a violation of the revised penal code, kaya dahil hindi naman daw directly ang party involved is the foreign corporation, pinayagan din ng Supreme Court na matuloy yung kaso. Or if it is defending only a suit against it, no? Ang nangyari dito, si Time wrote an article against then Senator Juan Ponce Enrile, and Juan Ponce Enrile sued, no, Time Inc. for libel. No, tapos they of course filed their defense, no, and their answer to the allegations. Tapos ang naging depensa diyan ng prosecution is that supposedly they cannot sue in Philippine courts. Pinayagan din yan ng Supreme Court because they are not the ones initiating the case. They are merely defending themselves from a suit that is filed against them, no. Kaya pinayagan na silang mag-file ng kanilang answer. Or lastly, when the estoppel would be applicable. Actually, in-apply din to doon sa Western Equipment Supply, no. So the foreign corporation sold to a local person here in the Philippines, hindi nagbayad si local person, not knowing, no, the local person knows that the foreign corporation does not have a license to do business in the Philippines. Sabi ng Supreme Court, you cannot raise that defense anymore because you transacted the business yourself with the foreign corporation. So you're now stopped into challenging the personality of the foreign corporation by entering into a contract with it, knowing that they don't have any license to do business in the Philippines. So again, in all 5 exceptions, pinayagan silang magkaso sa Pilipinas even if the foreign corporation does not have a license and they are doing business within the Philippines. Okay? So, lastly, for corporation, we have dissolution and liquidation. Dissolution, similar to that of a partnership, will be the extinguishment of the corporate franchise and termination of corporate existence. Or technically speaking, this is the death of the corporation already. Kasi wala nang ibang gagawin kung hindi mag-liquidate after it has already been dissolved. So, it ceases to be a juridical personality, and as such, it can no longer enter into any transaction that will pursue its primary purpose or purposes, or secondary purpose. So hindi na sila pwedeng magkaroon ng kontrata for the purchase of raw materials or for employing consultants for that matter, except if they will be related to the liquidation process or the winding up of its affairs. Kaya like a partnership, no, hindi na nagkakaroon dito ng mga technical, or generally speaking, hindi na dapat nagkakaroon ng contracts that will be binding to the corporation, that will be in pursuit of the regular conduct of business of the corporation. Okay? Now, so there are many ways for a corporation to be dissolved. The first one will be by expiration of its corporate term. For this purpose, a corporation may actually shorten, no, its original term in order to hasten the expiration of its corporate term. But take note, as we have mentioned earlier, a corporation already has perpetual existence, but if it does opt to have a fixed term, it may nevertheless be allowed to renew, no, or to apply for renewal or extension of its corporate term not earlier now than 3 years. No? Dati 5 years before the amendment of the revised corporation code. Otherwise, if a corporation fails to file an extension of its corporate term and it expires, it is automatically dissolved under the law. No, yun nga lang, sabi nga natin, under the revised corporation code, may concept na ng revival. No? Kasi dati, kailangan mo pang mag-reincorporate kung sakaling mag-expire ang corporate term at ma-dissolve ang corporation because of that. Ngayon, pwede ka na lang mag-file ng petition for revival with the SEC. No? Hindi na kailangan pang mag-reincorporate kung sakali lang nakalimutan ng corporate secretary na i-file on time no, ang iyong request for extension. Now, as we have mentioned, the corporate term may also be shortened by the corporation. So before the revised corporation code, the maximum period for a corporation to exist will be 50 years. Nevertheless, it will be a requirement for the amendment of the articles of incorporation for the stockholders to validly shorten the corporate term, no? And in which case it will require the actual votes of the stockholders in a meeting called for that purpose, not just a written assent coming from the stockholders, which will be applicable to general amendments. And unlike general amendments of the articles, kapag hindi ito pinansin ng SEC, nagiging deemed approved na, hindi yan mag-a-apply if the amendment will be shortening of the corporate term. You'll actually need an actual approval coming from the SEC to validly shorten the corporate term of the corporation. So that's one way of dissolving a corporation. Another one is what they call voluntary dissolution. But in some books that you may encounter, yung shortening ng corporate term is also classified under this kasi technically ganun din ang effect. And it is also the stockholders' own volition kung bakit nagkaroon ng dissolution ng corporation. No? Kaya yung sa iba, kinaklasify nila yung shortening ng corporate term under voluntary dissolution. Kasi technically speaking, it is voluntary on the part of the stockholders. Pinaghiwalay lang natin kasi sa voluntary dissolution, iba ang procedural requirements for purposes of having a valid dissolution of the corporation under this particular classification. So, what will be the procedural requirements? Una, kailangan may resolution muna coming from the board of directors or trustees that will require the majority vote, no, of such board of directors or trustees. Again, based only on those present in the meeting constituting a quorum. After that, the resolution of the board of directors will then be presented to the stockholders in a meeting that will be called for that purpose. Kaya kailangan mag-send out ng notice dito. Ngayon, 20 days prior to the meeting na lang ang requirement, which used to be 30 days prior to the amendment of the revised corporation code. So magkakaroon pa ng publication ng notice na yan, indicating the time, place, and the subject matter of the meeting, which is the voluntary dissolution of the corporation, for 3 consecutive weeks in a newspaper that is published in the place where the principal office is located, or in a newspaper of general circulation in the Philippines. Just to make sure that everybody gets the notice, no? Kahit hindi personally, but at least by publication, matatanggap nila yung notice. Now, pag natapos na yan, of course, sabi natin magkakaroon ng meeting and the required vote in order for the corporation to be validly dissolved to adopt the resolution of the board of directors will be 2/3. No? But take note, 2/3 ito kung sakasakaling there are creditors affected. Pero if there are no creditors affected by the voluntary dissolution, the requirement now under the revised corporation code will only be a majority of the stockholders. No longer 2/3. So again, pag creditors are affected, 2/3 pa rin. Pero if no creditors are affected, majority na lang ang vote required. Okay? Now, the resolution authorizing the dissolution will then be certified by the majority of the board and countersigned by the corporate secretary. Pagkatapos niyan, magpa-file na sa SEC. Dati yan, ang binibigay lang sa SEC yung copy ng resolution. Ngayon, ang term na ginagamit ng revised corporation code, dapat merong verified request for dissolution. Ang pinagkaiba lang, meron na yung verification page. No? So sa mga fina-file kasi sa korte, may verification page na I initiated this particular filing, I voluntarily did it, parang attestation nung nagpa-file in behalf of the corporation. Ganun lang laman ng verified. So, yun lang ibig sabihin yan. Hindi katulad sa TikTok or sa Twitter or sa Facebook na nagkakaroon ka ng blue check. Magkaiba. Okay, now, within 15 days from the receipt of the verified request for dissolution and in the absence of any withdrawal, within the same period of 15 days, the SEC then will approve the request and issue the certificate of dissolution. And again, no, pag corporation, sabi natin hindi mahirap kasi kailan nagte-take effect yung dissolution in this case, it will be upon the issuance of the certificate of dissolution. Kaya di ba laging may certificate? Certificate of incorporation, certificate of merger or consolidation, merong ding certificate of dissolution, which will be the reckoning point on when the corporation will be deemed dissolved already. Ngayon, within the 15-day period, however, meron ng concept ng withdrawal. Bago rin ito under the revised corporation code. So within the same 15-day period, a withdrawal of the request for dissolution may be made in writing, verified by any incorporator, director, trustee, shareholder, or member, and signed by the same number that will be required to request for dissolution. So kung majority ang required to approve the voluntary dissolution, majority lang din ang magiging required for the withdrawal. Kung 2/3, because creditors are affected, 2/3 din ang magiging required requirement for purposes of withdrawal. So kailangan sila ay pipirma lahat dito sa request na ito. So again, it has to be within the same 15-day period for the SEC to grant the request for dissolution. If it is filed after that, wala nang mangyayari kasi si SEC i-approve na yung request for voluntary dissolution. And upon receipt of the request for the withdrawal, the SEC then will withhold any action on the request for dissolution and will conduct its own investigation. After that, tsaka siya magbibigay ng pronouncement on whether the dissolution will be deemed withdrawn or to direct the board of directors or trustees and the stockholders to have a joint meeting to determine whether to proceed or not with the dissolution or any such other orders that it may deem appropriate for purposes of evaluating kung magkakaroon ba talaga ng voluntary dissolution or wala. Okay? So, ang pinagkaiba lang, again, if creditors will be affected by the voluntary dissolution of the corporation, the voting requirement will be 2/3 of the stockholders. And what is filed with the SEC is not a verified request but a petition. Ang pinagkaiba lang naman primarily, kaya petition ang fina-file dito ay dahil magkakaroon pa ng trial. Magkakaroon ng trial. Because if creditors are affected, they will be allowed to interject objections in the voluntary dissolution which will then be tried by the SEC. Kaya petition ang fina-file at hindi lang request. Kasi kailangan i-inform yung mga creditors na may filing na ng voluntary dissolution. Okay? Now, involuntary dissolution, as the name would suggest, is something that is not initiated by the corporation itself. Sa voluntary dissolution, which may include yung shortening of the corporate term, si stockholders mismo ang nag-i-initiate ng dissolution ng corporation. Sa involuntary, as the name would suggest nga, hindi na si stockholders ang nag-i-initiate. So ano ang mga grounds natin for involuntary dissolution? This will include serious misrepresentation on what the corporation can do and is doing to the great prejudice or damage to the general public. So kung kunwari, if most of their acts are already ultra vires because it is not within their express, implied, or inherent powers, or incidental powers for that matter, then they may be dissolved for that ground already, either with the SEC or with the legitimate court of competent jurisdiction. Or there is an order coming from the commission but they refuse to comply from such order and it would amount already to a grave violation of its franchise. So kung example, may stockholder na nagpetition ng SEC because his rights are being violated by the corporation's board of directors and they refuse to comply with the order of the SEC, then that can also be a valid ground for purposes of involuntary dissolution. Also including continuous in operation for a period of at least 5 years. So ibig sabihin dito, the corporation actually started operations. But for a period of 5 years, tuloy-tuloy na wala silang operation. Ang naging bago lang dito, under the Revised Corporation Code, upon non-operation for a continuous period of 5 years, hindi na siya automatically a ground to dissolve the corporation. Magkakaroon muna ng tinatawag na suspension period. So 2 years na suspension period ang ibibigay kay corporation bago pa maging ground for involuntary dissolution ng continuous in operation. So yan. So dati, kapag continuously inoperative for 5 years, automatically pwede ka nang mag-file kagad ng petition for dissolution of the corporation. Pero ngayon, magiging ground muna siya for suspension of the particular corporation. Ngayon, ang mangyayari tuloy, they will be placed in a delinquent status for a period of not exceeding 2 years. And the SEC will provide for the conditions for them to be taken out of their delinquent status. So again, before the amendment of the Revised Corporation Code, so before RCC, kung naka 5 years na, pwede na kagad itong ground for suspension or revocation of the franchise or for purposes of involuntary dissolution. But now, under the Revised Corporation Code, mapupunta muna ng delinquent status. Ayan. Tapos bibigyan sila ng 2 years ng SEC and the terms that will be required to lift the delinquent status. So kung sakasakaling ito ay ma-meet, hindi na sila pwedeng i-dissolve or wala ka ng ground for them to be dissolved involuntarily. Pero kung hindi ma-meet yung mga terms na yan within the 2-year period, tsaka lang siya nagiging ground for suspension or revocation of the corporate franchise or for purposes of dissolution. So again, ang pinagkaiba lang under the Revised Corporation Code, may sumisingit lang na period na delinquent status bago ito maging ground for involuntary dissolution. Hindi na siya automatic na ground agad. Ngayon, we compare with that also what we call failure to commence operations or yung tinatawag din natin na non-use of corporate charter. No? So the starting or formally organizing and commencing the business is not really that complicated. In one opinion by one author in corporation law, sabi niya, the election of the board of directors, corporate officers itself will constitute already organization and commencement of the business. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na kung ikaw ay manufacturing entity, kailangan talagang mag-produce ka kagad ng finished goods at dapat makapagbenta ka, no, within the 2-year period, no, which is now 5 years under the revised corporation code. So yung formal organization or commencement of business, again, election of directors, election of corporate officers would validly constitute organization and commencement of the business already. Okay. Nevertheless, even if the corporation, no, does not commence its business or formally organize within a period of 2 years, it will now be automatically dissolved by operation of law. As compared to continuous in operation a while ago, it is a ground for involuntary dissolution. Yung failure to commence operations or non-use of the corporate charter results in automatic dissolution. Hindi mo na kailangan pang mag-file ng petition with the SEC or with the court para ma-dissolve ang corporation because it is dissolved already by operation of the law. Now, take note again of the amendment from 2 years, 5 years na ito. No? So, 5 years from the issuance of the certificate of incorporation, hindi ka nakapag-formally organize or commence your business for a period of 5 years, automatically dissolved na ang corporation. Meron din ganitong concept pagdating sa cooperative that will be discussed by Attorney Domingo next week. No? Yun nga lang sa cooperative, yung continuous non-operation and failure to commence operations would both just be ground for dissolving the cooperative. No? Dito lang sa corporation nag-a-apply yung automatic dissolution when we talk about failure to commence operations or non-use of corporate charter. Okay? So automatic, yung isa kanina na continuous in operation, ground lang. Okay? Pero sa cooperative, pareho yung ground lang. Walang automatic dissolution. Okay? So failure to file the bylaws will be another ground supposedly, no, for the dissolution of a corporation, but as we have mentioned before, no, tinanggal na ng revised corporation code yung requirement to file the bylaws within a period of 1 month. Incidentally, hindi na tuloy magiging ground for dissolution ng corporation yung failure to file the bylaws within the 1-month period. No, kasi nga tinanggal na yung 1-month period na deadline under the revised corporation code. It will also be a valid ground to dissolve the corporation for failure to file the required reports in the forms that may be required by the commission within the prescribed period, including the filing of the financial statements. No? Kasi yan ang isa sa mga required reports na dapat fina-file sa SEC. So it may also be a ground to dissolve the corporation. Additional grounds that you will find under the revised corporation code will include upon lawful receipt or receipt of a lawful court order dissolving the corporation. So ang idea dito, hindi kay SEC final yung ground for dissolution, but with a special commercial court designated as such by the Supreme Court. Or by finding a final judgment that the corporation's incorporation was procured through fraud. No? So actually, medyo in-expand lang yan para to make it broader. Pero yung filing kasi ng false documents naman na before was a ground with the SEC, no, to dissolve the corporation. Okay? Or by final judgment, there are certain illegal acts that are being conducted, being aided, or being tolerated by the corporation. So, securities violation, so yan yung mga violation ng Securities Regulations Code, smuggling, tax evasion, money laundering, or graft and corrupt practices. If the corporation itself is the one conducting such activities, then it will be a ground to dissolve the corporation. I don't know why it was not a ground before. No? Supposedly, any illegal act should be a valid ground to dissolve the corporation. Pero bago lang ito na pinasok sa revised corporation code. Or even if the corporation itself did not commit the acts that we just have mentioned, but they aided in the commission of that particular acts, and the stockholders knew, no, that the corporation was aiding the commission of those illegal acts, it may also be a valid ground to dissolve the corporation. Or lastly, if it knew but it tolerated. So kahit hindi sila nag-aid, kahit hindi sila ang gumawa ng mga acts, illegal acts, but they tolerated the commission. Ibig sabihin, they knew but they did not do anything about it. No? Like for graft and corrupt practices or other fraudulent or illegal acts, then the corporation may also be dissolved on that particular ground. Okay? So yun lang yung mga bagong grounds that you will find under the revised Corporation Code. So what will be the effects of dissolution? Sabi nga natin, supposedly it terminates the juridical personality of the corporation itself, kaya wala na siyang legal personality to enter into any contracts or continue the business as a going concern. Ibig sabihin, yung prohibition lang dito is that they can no longer pursue the business for which the incorporation was incorporated. No? Nevertheless, it will have a period of 3 years from the time of dissolution for purposes of liquidation and winding up. As a general rule, once the 3 years have already ended or natapos na yung 3-year period for liquidation and winding up, the corporation will cease to exist for all intents and purposes, and as such, it can no longer sue nor can it be sued for anything related to the operations of the corporation. Yan na talaga yung literal na kamatayan na. No? Termination ang term na ginagamit dyan ng iba kapag natapos na yung 3-year period. Now, take note, yung mga procedure natin for liquidation is just similar to that of a partnership. The assets will be collected and then they will eventually be sold. No? Then the rights and claims of the creditors will be settled. Sila ang magiging unang entitled to the proceeds. At kung meron pang excess, tsaka lang mapupunta sa mga stockholders. Okay? Now, take note, if the stockholders cannot be located, it will now be forfeited in favor of the national government. Any unused proceeds, undistributed proceeds, or undistributed assets will now be forfeited in favor of the national government via an escheat proceeding. Na dati, no, napupunta muna sa local government where the property is located. Under the revised corporation code, kay national government na mapupunta, no, yung undistributed assets or undistributed proceeds. Now, the liquidation can be done by the board of directors itself of the corporation. In fact, dyan lang nag-a-apply yung 3-year period. No? Dyan lang nag-a-apply yung 3-year period for liquidation and winding up. Kasi if the liquidation will be done by a trustee, appointed by a corporation, or by a receiver, also appointed by a corporation, or by the courts for that matter, then hindi mag-a-apply yung 3-year period. So yung 3 years natin, dito lang yan nag-a-apply. Dito sa dalawa, hindi. No? Kasi sabi ng Supreme Court, if you appointed a trustee or a receiver, the title to the properties will be transferred to them, no? For purposes of facilitating the liquidation. So dahil nalipat naman ng titulo ng property to the trustee or receiver, the 3-year period will not be applicable. So even if a case was filed against the corporation or by the corporation for that matter, it can go beyond the 3-year period at pwede pa rin niyang magpatuloy basta merong trustee or merong receiver. Pero if the liquidation is being conducted by the corporation itself through the board of directors, then pagkatapos ng 3 years, lahat ng kaso matatapos na. No? Kasi nga, supposedly, dead na ang corporation for all legal intents and purposes. All right? So that is the Corporation Code of the Philippines. Let's go now to our MCQs na in relation to that. Okay? Kapati sa mga other types of corporations that we have mentioned. Liquidation din po ba ang tawag, attorney, sa extinguishment of the franchise? No, the extinguishment of the franchise is dissolution. Liquidation will be the period after that. So to qualify as a foreign corporation, the consideration will be, ayan, A, B, C, D ang ating choices. Actually, feeling ko maaga tayong matatapos today, no? Kasi maiksi na to. After this, SRC na tayo. Okay, let's give 10 more seconds for the others to answer. Okay, sige, let me end the poll there. And most of you got the correct answer, letter D. Again, for purposes of determining whether a corporation is foreign or domestic, ang tinitingnan lang natin dyan will be the incorporation test. Kaya ang test lang will be under what country or under what country's laws was the corporation incorporated. The appointment of the resident agent is not a necessary requirement. It will be a requirement only for purposes of applying for a license to do business in the Philippines. Yeah. Relaunch the poll. The following are the effects of dissolution except grabe acid reflux ko. Sige, let's give 10 more seconds for the others. Kayo bang lahat ay okay na? Wala na mga sintomas? Parang sa ibang lugar, flu season pa rin. Mas malamig-lamig pa rin, no? Hopefully, all of you are feeling better now. Kaya hindi na tayo mga kasintomas. Sige, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. So most of you still got it correctly. The contracts will not be terminated pa, no? Kasi nga it will undergo liquidation first. Lalo na yung mga contracts of loan, 'di ba? Sabi nga natin, una pang babayaran muna ang mga creditors. Pag may natira lang, tsaka mapupunta sa stockholders. Kaya hindi nagta-terminate ang existing contracts. Ang bawal lang is to enter into new contracts for purposes of furthering the business of the corporation. Yun lang ang pinagbabawal dyan. Okay? Number 38, in case that the corporation has been continuously inoperative for a period of 5 years under the revised corporation code, ano ang nagiging epekto, no, ng continuous in operation for a period of 5 years? Again, this is on the premise that they did start operating, no, eventually lang they were inoperative for a period of 5 years. Sige, let's give 10 more seconds for the others to answer. Okay, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. So most of you got it correctly. Again, under the revised corporation code, no, magiging delinquent status muna for a period of 2 years. Bibigyan sila ng certain terms and conditions ng SEC that they have to meet within the period of 2 years in order to lift the delinquent status. Kung sakaling hindi nila ma-meet, that's the only time that the continuous in operation will be a ground for the dissolution of the corporation. Hindi katulad nga nung ating failure to commence, no, or non-use of a corporate charter, it will result in automatic dissolution already, no? Automatic dissolution by operation of the law. Okay? Number 39, under the revised corporation code, any asset distributable to any creditor or stockholders or members who is unknown or cannot be found shall be escheated in favor of whom? Ayan. Sana pagdating sa board exam, ganyan din, no? Nakalagay kung revised corporation code na or old corporation code. When the amendments were introduced in 2019, no? Ang sabi kasi ng examiners noon is that they will use only the new laws in the questions. Tapos kaya hindi tuloy nakaklarify kung old or revised corporation code ba yung question, pero may mga sa choices may answers that may apply to either. Saka pa sir, bigay ng bawa. Hindi naman mahirap di ba? Ano ba naman yung sa umpisa, lagyan mo lang ng under the revised corporation code to make it clearer kung ano ba, you're asking the question from what perspective. Di ba? It's not, hindi naman masama na umasa. Mali mo naman, hindi naman na, konti lang naman siguro yan na lalagyan mo ng ganyan. Sige, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. So yes, it will be cheated in favor of the national government. Yung city or municipality where the asset is located used to be the old rule. So under the old corporation code yan. Pero now under the revised corporation code, any undistributed asset or proceeds from the sale of the assets will now be cheated in favor of the national government. Okay? And last question for our corporation code. A corporation doing business in the Philippines, supposedly a foreign corporation, just to clarify, no? Doing business in the Philippines without the requisite license, ano ulit ang ating nagiging consequence, no, ng doing business without the requisite license? So ang tanong ay, pwede ba silang magnegosyo? Yes, no, that is the question, or that is not the primary effect of that. But if they do business without a license, ito ang nagiging consequence ng kanilang pag hindi pag-file or pag-secure ng license with the SEC. Sige, let's give 10 more seconds for the others. Okay, let me end the poll there and share with you the results. So most of you got it correctly. Again, hindi sila pwedeng magkaso, no? Pwede silang kasuhan pero hindi sila pwedeng magkaso in Philippine courts or any administrative agencies as a general rule if they do business in the Philippines without the requisite license. Again, subject to the 5 exceptions that we have mentioned earlier. So generally, letter C will be the effect of doing business in the Philippines without the necessary license. All right? So with that, We'll take our first break. Sir, what if the choices merong applicable sa old law and sa revised? Ako, I honestly don't know kung kasi ang hirap eh. Supposedly, we will apply only the new law as promised by the BOA chair, no? Back in 2018 pa. They promised na supposedly are going to purge the test banks of the old questions or the questions applying the old rules or the old laws. Kaya ang advice din talaga namin sa students is that we apply the revised, no? Kasi yun na daw, supposedly moving forward. Pero it's hard to be assured of that considering that, well, I don't want to say unreliable, no? Kasi that's what they promised and we can supposedly rely on that. Pero there's a tendency kasi that they might not have completely removed the questions applying the old laws, no? Kaya to answer your question, you answer with the new law or the revised law and then you take note of the question, no? Para we can raise it with the BOA, sasama natin yan doon sa sinasummarize, na isasama doon sa tatanong sa BOA para if in case the question did apply the old law, mai-invalidate siya, no? Para ma-invalidate siya or matanggal doon sa mga considerations kasi nga unfair. Supposedly new law dapat ang i-apply nila. So I hope I answered your question. Okay, so we'll take our break and come back here in a while, no, to discuss the Securities Regulations Code. Okay? Sige, break. Are now We are now on the Securities Regulation Code, which again is a subtopic under corporations, no? Under the topic business organizations in the POS or the syllabus of the BOA. So the purpose why we have a Securities Regulations Code is to protect the investing public. No? Karamihan ng rules na pag-uusapan natin later will go back to this particular purpose. No? At yan na natin babalikan para matandaan yung ibang rules na pag-uusapan natin later. So by the Securities Regulations Code, there is a system of disclosures. No? In fact, may registration requirement pa bago ka makapagbenta ng securities to the investing public. And the SRC also provides for punishment for certain fraudulent practices. Ano? So may question doon sa chat box. Kailan daw ang deadline? Si Charmaine may sinabi, hindi ko rin maintindihan. Talaga, Charmaine? Joke na. Ano ba yan? Type niya lang. Okay, kaya nga ang tawag dati dito sa Securities Regulation Code, no, was the Blue Sky Law. Because historically, there are some issuing corporations that would sell securities to the investing public promising returns as high as the blue sky, no? Pero pag ano din ang nangyayari sa totoong buhay, the investors will not get anything but a square in the blue sky also. So wala talaga silang natatanggap na actual returns as promised. That's why there was a necessity to enact a Securities Regulations Code that would, again, the primary purpose of which would be to protect the investing public. So how does the SRC protect the investing public? Number one, requiring a full disclosure of information concerning the securities that will be offered for sale and the issuers, including the filing and approval of the registration statement as well as the approval of the prospectus. So mamaya i-discuss natin yung procedures for the registration of the securities, which would include the filing of what we call a registration statement and a filing of what we call the prospectus, including their publications. No? And the registration statement and the prospectus would then have the information concerning the securities that are being offered, as well as the information related to the issuing corporation. No? Lalo na yung mga results ng operations, ang kanilang mga projections as to how much will be the possible return that will be coming from the securities that are being offered to the investing public. Second, they also require the regular submission of material information, including that of the financial statements, so that the investing public would be apprised of the operations of the issuing corporation, kung pareho ba sa projections nila indicated in the statement or in the prospectus. They can also closely monitor the securities and other circumstances that may affect the securities, as well as the persons involved in the distribution and sale of such securities, such as the brokers, issuers, or even the exchange itself, which in the Philippines would only be the Philippine Stock Exchange, to make sure that the transactions relative to the securities will be in compliance with pertinent laws and regulations. They can also prohibit and penalize different fraudulent practices and transactions, or even regulate some of them, as we will be discussing in a while as well, and provide the SEC certain powers and functions, including that of suspending or revoking the franchise of an issuing corporation for violation of the Securities Regulations Code. Now, securities, as may have been defined by some authors, represent a participation or interest in a corporation or